I'm Bob Hallmark in studio today. We're going to talk about the adverse weather we've had over the past, let's say, 3-4 weeks now. We've had storms, we've had torrential rains, we've had blistering heat. How does all of that affect those that grow? Not only hay, but produce, things of that nature. And to give us an expert explanation on that, we're joined now by Professor Vanessa Corriher-Olson. And Vanessa is with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. And I guess one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, in your expert opinion, are there positives and negatives from our weather pattern over the last couple of months?
Always. In agriculture, one of our biggest challenges is weather, especially considering it's outside of our control. So we always are looking for rainfall, especially during the summer. So part of us are probably thankful for some of these storms. We don't wish damage on anyone, but rain is always good, especially in agriculture during the summer in Texas. So that can be a positive of some of those storms. Now, of course, heavy torrential downpours or extreme winds, straight line winds, can be damaging to a lot of crops. It can lay corn down. It can, be very damaging to a lot of agronomic crops. In hay production, obviously, we need the rainfall to produce our forage. Rainfall can also be a negative once that forage has been cut and we're trying to cure it or get it to dry down. And unfortunately, during the summer, we can have some of these, and we have this season, especially in East Texas, these pop-up thunderstorms where there's no prediction of any cloud in the sky or any rainfall. And so a lot of producers, try to look at weather and plan their harvesting around that over a couple of days, look long-term forecast, but the weather's constantly changing, of course. So they do their best. Another, challenge with different weather patterns can be insect pest. In forage production, we have the fall armyworm that tends to pop up and become very problematic when we've been dry, and then we have rainfall. And we've recently seen that in Central and East Texas with some of these pop-up showers, along with the hurricane that came through recently, bringing a lot of rainfall following some hot, dry periods and potentially some drought periods. So I always tell producers, if we've been dry, hot during the summer, and then we get a storm or we get some rainfall, to start scouting their fields for fall armyworms, because that moisture and a little bit cooler temperature really promotes that population and their reproduction. And so they become very problematic and can destroy a lot of forage. So the drought, of course, decreases agronomic production, forage production. We also want the rainfall, but we don't want the armyworms that come with the rainfall. And we definitely don't want the damage that comes with storms for a lot of our crops, and for folks and for people in the state of Texas as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was interesting is you mentioned the drought. Now, there's a theory, and I don't know whether there's any credence to this or not, but there's a theory among farmers that they call it shock to their crops, where they'll have immediate rain that will saturate the soil, and then they'll have blistering heat, which I guess can parch a plant. Is there any credence to that? Is there any truth to the fact that a plant can be shocked like that?
I think it can be, if we've had dry conditions, and then recently we've received kind of rainfall in heavy mass and in large quantities in a short period of time. That can lead to leaf shatter for a lot of our crops. It can lead to, splashing of mud up onto crops that could potentially be detrimental or ultimately could cause some disease. And then following that moisture, if we have, some high temperatures, a lot of sunlight, that can lead to evapotranspiration. So we can lose some of that moisture that we just received kind of evaporates back into our atmosphere. I think it is challenging for our plants. I mean, it is challenging for our plants. It can cause stress when we have some big extremes and shifts, either in temperature or different environmental constraints, rainfall, lack of rainfall, what have you. So it can be problematic to have some big shifts.
Okay. I guess the final thought here is, with East Texas, we're very familiar with changing weather patterns. We can get rain. Usually, we look forward to that time when we don't have drought conditions in East Texas, although invariably there always are some periods where there is going to be a drought. The best hope, I guess, for growers, particularly if you're on your second planting right now, is that the weather more or less evens out so that you don't have to go through that again.
Right. I mean, ideally, we would all like to have timely rainfall when, following a harvest so that it promotes the next harvest or the additional harvest, continued harvest. But it's really difficult to order weather patterns. And I think most Texans, most agricultural producers in Texas have gotten used to the unpredictability of our weather. And they've learned how to kind of work with it or work around and take on those challenges. Now, a lot of times producers lose crops either to flooded fields because of heavy rainfall or flooding in areas, or they've lost crops to drought, of course, to extreme drought like we've seen in previous years. So we do our best with the weather that we get, and that, and we try to manage. And in Extension, we recommend following best management practices to kind of deal with the challenges that come with our weather. And so hopefully if they're following a lot of those best management practices around fertility, controlling weed populations, scouting for insect pests, and dealing with those in a timely manner, that can reduce some of that challenge. It doesn't take away the weather challenge, but it can help to improve the persistence of our crops and their productivity.
All right, so obviously there is reason for optimism right now. Optimism and hope seem to be the farmers' best friends during these times. So
Yes,
I'm
their
guessing we are
best friend and
optimistic.
their enemy.
Okay, so it's still a good outlook at this point in your assessment?
I haven't looked at the drought monitor, the long range forecast for us, in a while. I'm always hopeful that we'll still continue to receive some summer rainstorms or rain showers here and there. Most of us probably anticipate, based on history and experience in East Texas, that July and August and even September can be some of our hottest and driest weather for us during the quote unquote summer. So most people are anticipating more of relief come October and November. So we shall see.
All right. Professor Vanessa Corriher-Olson, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, and we'll have much more on this story tonight on KLTV 7 News. For KLTV Web Extra, I'm Bob Hallmark.